Cruising is Life podcast. Whether you're a seasoned cruiser or just starting out, we have something for everyone. So sit back, relax, and get ready to set sail with us on the Cruising is Life podcast.
All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Cruising is Life podcast. We are diving into a really exciting one today. We're talking all about the Oasis class, the ins, the outs, the history of the Oasis class, everything like that. And of course, now we know as of 2 weeks ago, we have a 7th Oasis on the way, and we also got a lot of Oasis class being shuffled around over the next couple of years. So it's going to be a very exciting one. We are joined by our normal co-host, Justin. How's it going, buddy?
It's good. How are you?
Doing good. And we are also joined by Steve, who is Naughty Life Cruising. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. Steve, if you want to quickly shout out your channel, all of that real quick before we get started, you can.
It's Naughty Life Cruising. It's Nauti Life Cruising on YouTube.
Very cool.
I do a lot of ship videos with these two guys.
Yes, he does. He does a lot of Tampa ship spotting and some, room tours, right? And ship tours?
Not really ship tours. I do a lot of room tours.
Okay.
And I do Tampa a lot, and every once in a while I shoot out the Port Canaveral. Very
cool. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. We'll start out with kind of the big hot topic of the day was that, we got the big redeployment schedule for the winter season of 25 into 26 for Royal Caribbean, where I think all but one of the Oasis class is moving home ports. That one that's not moving is Harmony, which is actually going to move in 26 for a dry dock, but we don't know where she's going after Europe. But Oasis, Allure, Symphony, Wonder, I guess Utopia is not included in this, but I guess all the active ones. Wonder is actually moving over to 3 nights to kind of pair up with Utopia, which I think we kind of figured that out a while back, but the news finally broke today. So, what are your thoughts on, another newer Oasis class going to the 3 nights?
I think it's great. I know Royal really looks at numbers, and I guess they see that there's a huge demand for the 3 and 4 night going to the Bahamas and Nassau, which is where most cruise lines go to for the 3 and 4 nights.
Right.
As long as the demand is there and they're making money, then that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, I think Utopia is not even out yet, and Utopia has already been a huge success for them, and I think it's very highly anticipated to the point where, they're taking the Allure and just going to go ahead and replace it with the Wonder whenever Allure goes over for those upgrades in 2025. So that'd be really cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And at least for me, and I know you, Brandon, the weekend cruises have become something that is a little bit easier to do, even if you're on a little bit of a tight budget, if you have like a family, whatever. And it's still an opportunity for you to experience a cruise if you're not too sure about it and you don't want to spend that much money the first time and have the risk of not liking it. So with them putting their newest ships and their biggest ships on the 3 and 4 night, it gives a lot of people the opportunity to experience, what they could do on a longer cruise, and it kind of, puts out a good vibe to people that do that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like you mentioned, especially for people that are, their first time on a cruise, if you get somebody on an Oasis class for their very first ever cruise, I mean, yeah, they might get spoiled a little bit, but not to the sense of, how it was maybe 10 years ago whenever the, Oasis and the Allure were the only ones and the mega ship era was only just starting. Now if you start with Oasis and Allure, you've got so many other options. You now have Icon, you have the Quantum class, you have the XL ships from Carnival, you have the Breakaway Plus from Norwegian. You've got so many options now, so you're not necessarily overly spoiled these days when you start out with something like that. It's definitely going to be really, really cool to see. And, like I said, Utopia's already been very successful, and, and it's a very unique market too, because I feel like it definitely pertains more to the Florida residents than anybody else because of the convenience factor that you mentioned. For me, being in the Orlando area, being in Florida, I can hop on one of these on a Friday afternoon and be back in time for work on Monday.
Right. Yeah, and that's definitely what's appealing. I mean, even to people from, all over the country, but you'll primarily find people that are fairly local to the port
Hmm.
or just live in the state, depending on where you're going out of. But yeah, it opens a huge door just to anyone that wants to get away. Like you said, leave on a Friday afternoon if you're local,
Hmm.
take a half and be back in time for work Monday, which is something that you don't usually
Hmm.
get the opportunity to do with a cruise. And if you did, back in the past, it was older ships, and it wasn't really anything to
Yeah.
get that going.
Right, exactly. Your options well, not two, but 5+ years ago was Majesty of the Seas or Carnival Sensation. You know,
Right.
so it's definitely a different era. Steve, have you done any of the short cruises lately, or are you mostly sticking to those week longs?
I usually stick with more than 3 nights, but a year and a half ago, I did Independence 3 nights with Ricky, the cruise director, who is awesome.
Oh yeah,
He's
Ricky.
really
Yeah, I think we had Ricky. I think all 3 times that I sailed on
Mhm.
Indy back in 22. But
yeah,
he's a
uh,
really cool guy. I had him on Oasis for a couple years ago.
yeah. He's probably one of the better ones.
Yeah, I was surprised
Definitely
he
in
wasn't on
the top
Icon, to be
five.
honest.
Mike usually opens up all the ships. He opened up Wonder. He opened up Odyssey. Of course, he opened up Icon.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, Mike is good too. I saw him when I was on Odyssey back when that launched.
yeah, for sure. It's funny how Royal Caribbean's their cruise directors are they do it differently than the way Carnival does it. Carnival, that's like the cruise director is the celebrity of the ship. Like the cruise director is the face of everything, whereas not not necessarily a bad thing with Royal Caribbean. It's more of just like they're more. I guess they're not like the face of the ship. When you're on it, like that's how Carnival treats their entertainment staff and their cruise directors, whereas you know cruise directors with Royal are more just saying, hey, we got this going on around the ship, hosting a thing here and there type of thing. It'll be really interesting to see how it all goes. I think Wonder will be a great fit for Miami, and let alone the 3 night cruises. As everything's going well with Utopia already, I think it was kind of a no brainer to put another Oasis class down there after Allure has to leave.
I think Utopia is going to be a huge hit for Royal.
Oh, absolutely. It's crazy to say, but it kind of already is. It's selling so well that the prices are insane for a 3 night cruise. I think I was looking the other day; it was like $600 for a 3 night cruise and an inside. But Utopia seems like it's going to be a great hit, and as the Oasis class has evolved, especially now that we've gotten closer and closer to Icon, and now that Icon's released, it's definitely that a lot of the stuff from Icon is kind of carried over, or there's definitely some features, primarily the buffet and just certain restaurants as well.
Yeah, and I think when at least when they said Wonder was coming to the U.S. instead of China, I thought she was going to go to Miami eventually, like end up there, because she just seemed like the perfect Miami
Hmm.
ship. And then they would just move like Symphony or someone out to Port Canaveral.
Which they should.
But I mean, right, and I agree. But I mean, she was great for Port Canaveral too, having replaced Harmony that was sailing out of there. So I'm excited for her to finally sail out of Miami because I think she's a good ship for that area.
I
Absolutely.
thought I thought Wonder was going to end up in China because it was originally built for the China market. So
Yeah.
Right.
I'm glad that it stayed in Florida.
Yeah, I agree. I know they kind of went through the whole Americanization portion of it whenever they first dry docked it right after delivery, which I think, that might be why it didn't go back over there. Um, but yeah, it definitely is good to see that she's going to stay around for a while, if it seems like. And I'm wondering if maybe just to throw Oasis 7 in there, I'm wondering if maybe that's why we have a seventh Oasis class coming. Is if they still want to do that, but I know that market's kind of died from what it seems like, so I don't really know.
The Oasis class in general has always been extremely popular since it launched, and they've been
Oh,
filling the
absolutely.
ships up, and it's very profitable for them.
Hmm.
So, am I surprised that they're coming out with number 7? Yes and no. Um,
Right. Like with me,
No,
7's just a lot. That's my only thing, but I am not surprised whatsoever that we're getting more and more.
yeah, and 7 of one class ship is the first time the Royals done that.
Hmm.
So usually they stick with about 3 to 5 of the class.
Right.
So
It almost seems like it's going to be because by the time that ship comes out, Oasis will be, I think, 19 or 20 years old by that point, and which is crazy to think about.
That is
But
crazy.
it's crazy, and that was like the prime of. I know you and I both, Justin, of us getting into cruising was the Oasis like Project Genesis and everything. So like it's crazy
Right.
to think it's been like that long at this point. But Steve, there's like a computer monitor like walking around in the background of your camera. What?
Oh yeah, what is that?
What is that?
of whose? Mine?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
look
is that
behind
on
you.
the floor?
There's like a monitor circling around behind you.
Oh, I know what that is.
I would hope so.
I
Hold,
I
hold
was
on.
like, oh my gosh.
Let me. I need to
Steve,
mute
where do you
this.
live?
Anyways, but yeah, it's crazy. It's like it's been
Oh, you
almost
lost
20
it.
years. It ran off.
It vanished. I know what it is.
Oh my god. And it just disappeared.
Oh my gosh.
It ran away.
I just like lost my train of thought as I was looking. I was like, what in the world? It's just like circling around behind. I was like, is that a computer monitor?
Oh my god.
Good stuff. Um anyways. But where were we? So yeah, it's crazy, and they definitely evolved, and I it's almost coming to the point where I'm wondering if maybe the Oasis class will be just like an evergreen project where Project Genesis is just gonna keep the ships are just gonna keep coming. Like over time, even after Oasis is retired, we might still be getting another one. I don't want to think about Oasis getting retired because I know that's like another 20 years from now at least. But like, who knows? Like it's
That would
such a
be
profitable ship and so popular.
that would be such an interesting idea if, let's say, they wanted to have 8 Oasis class ships at one time, right? Let's
Hmm.
say that's just like what they want to do. And then eventually, like, it's crazy to think, but eventually they're gonna have to retire Oasis, like it's just gonna
Yeah.
get to that point.
I don't want
So
to think
when
about
they
it, but it's going to happen eventually.
right, so what they would do is they would, before, like when they knew they were getting ready to get rid of her, start building another one, like another Oasis class.
Hmm.
That way, when Oasis retires, another one goes in to make it 8 again instead of 7,
I
and they just
it,
keep doing that.
it's a weird idea, but I mean it's not out of the realm of possibility again because
That
they're
would be
just so popular. The
right.
reason
Like
that's
they
the
just
reason we're
always
getting
want to
more.
have it. It's crazy. I didn't think we were gonna have more than 2.
We weren't supposed to
I
get more than 2
I
originally.
would be surprised if there's an 8 because they're working on Project Discovery. And then the Icon class, there's 2 and 3 on order. 2's under construction, 3's on order.
Yeah.
And if that goes well for them, they're probably going to be 4 and 5 at some point.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Project Discovery, I mean, I think they've said we're going to hear something about that this year. So, I mean, that project seems to be in full swing. Icon, we've got 1 already out, 2 is on the way, 3's under construction too. So, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a 4th Icon. My only thing that supports an Oasis 8 is the fact they've always done them in pairs. They originally
Right.
ordered a solo Oasis 5, which turned into Wonder, but then a year after that, they ordered Utopia. So going
So
off of previous trends that they've done with the Oasis class, it's possible. But yeah, I mean, with so many other projects going on at once, it's probably not likely, but it's possible.
I just wonder if they are gonna do an 8th, what are they gonna change to make it look fairly different? Because
Hmm.
that seems like what they've been doing, like
Hmm.
with every 2. So would
Right.
they just
Each
make it
pair. Yeah.
for like Wonder type ones, or would they make it too updated? Like that'd be interesting to know.
What do you do differently? It's
Right.
evolved so much over the last 15 years. Like, what do you do different?
Right.
And yeah, going back to, there originally was only supposed to be two of these, and that was because of how big they ended up being. I think Royal Caribbean's CEO at the time even came out and goes, yeah, they were a little too big, but they're very successful. But now we have so many more ports. At the time, Oasis and Allure could only get into Nassau, Falmouth, Cozumel, and and maybe St. Thomas, St. Martin. Like,
Right.
And there wasn't Coco Cay well, there was, but they weren't going to Coco Cay. They couldn't go to St. Kitts. You couldn't go to Roatan. You couldn't go to Costa Maya, all this and that. So now there's so many different options. There's so many. They also could only sail out of Fort Lauderdale. Now you can sail them out of New York. You can sail them out of Fort Lauderdale, Port Canaveral. You can sail them out of Miami, Galveston. And you've always got there's always one that at least that goes over to Europe for the season too.
Right.
The first couple of Oasis ships couldn't get into Coco Cay because they had to tender.
Right, exactly. I mean,
trying to tender 6,000 people is
not
an easy task, and
right.
something they didn't want to do.
Right. I think Royal refuses to do that with the Icon and the Oasis classes because of how big and how many people there are. It's just not practical.
And yeah, you're absolutely right that there were a very limited number of ports that ship could fit into.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of countries said, "Hey, let's bring those 5,000-6,000 people here. Let's rebuild the pier."
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, and once that started happening, I mean, that's when we got the order for Harmony and Symphony, and then again, those are just so popular. It was a no-brainer that we got Wonder. It was a no-brainer that we got Utopia.
Right.
And I mean, I know Wonder was originally expected for Asia, and I think Asia is still dying for an Oasis class. Whether or not that market's recovered yet, I don't know. But I mean, Asia has been dying for an Oasis class. I know it was a long time ago, but I know at one point there was talks of the Oasis going over there.
Right. Yeah, that would have been crazy to see. Like, it was weird when I saw her. What was it? This past one of the last 2 summers when she was doing like the Port Canaveral runs from New York. They had one of the hurricanes was like near Florida.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up sending her, I think it was to Canada, somewhere up there, and it was like so weird seeing pictures of her docked up there, like, because you don't think those kind of ships go there. So if Oasis or any one of them went over to China, that would be insane.
Yeah. The ships can go to Canada and New England. It's not like their New York stints, or, the ones that home ported up there. They can't go up north. It's not like they can just do Bahama cruises from there.
Right.
I mean, they can go up to, Canada and New England. Those are a little bit more limited, yes, but they can do it.
Right.
I mean, could you imagine they do the 9s on Liberty out of New York. I mean, could you imagine a 9-9 in Oasis class at Canada and New England? Sign
That'd
me
be
up.
awesome.
Sign me up. That'd be so cool. Anything more than 7 days on an Oasis class would be incredible.
Mm-hmm.
We're starting to get backed up on questions in the chat here, so let's touch base with some of them. Sport Crazy wants to know, I guess this is for Brandon, what do you think of Icon compared to other big ships, regardless of the cruise line?
Yeah, and with Icon, it feels like an improved Oasis class, and in comparison to other ships, other cruise lines, there's no comparison. I mean, that ship is truly like it's just incredible. It's hard to explain, but the Icon class, they thought of everything. They did such a good job. They took everything that was good on the Oasis, and they took everything that was, maybe not bad, but anything that was just like a minor thing that could be improved on the Oasis. They took that and they fixed that, and they put that on there. They're really, even the crowd control, like, a lot of people were like, oh, 7,000 people. The crowd control was non-existent. Like, there was, like, peak times in the promenade. I was sitting at Sorrento's. It really wasn't busy at all feeling, because there's people walking through the promenade on the upper level and in the lower level, so you've got that split. It was incredible. Like, there's no lines just about anywhere. The only line I really ran into was the morning coffee at Pearl Cafe.
That's awesome, considering the number of people that are on the show.
Yeah, I think the first maybe few sailings, I know the inaugural was around 75 or 80%. I don't know what my sailing was at, but even if it was at full capacity or if it was close to it, it did not feel like there was 7,000 people on there.
Nice.
Like the Oasis class feels a lot more crowded, not in a bad way, but the Oasis class feels more congested, and even those are pretty open and spacious, if that says anything.
So Dimitri says, I think the shorter cruises on Oasis class are a great way to help the new first-time cruisers.
Absolutely.
I totally agree with that.
Very smart, Dimitri.
Yes.
Rick, I'm sure Brandon will thank you for watching his Freedom Tour.
Oh, yeah. Rick, I think, said earlier that he was going on Freedom. Freedom's a fantastic ship, and I feel like the Freedom kind of is the one that ushered in this whole thing. You know, it was the world's largest cruise ship at the time, and you know they took that and they're like, "Hey, well, how do we make this better?" And that's kind of where Project Genesis kind of came out of, and it was really neat. So yeah, it'd be really cool. It's a very nice ship. I love it, and Freedom is one of my favorite ships ever, just because of it's got that sentimental thing for me. Like I know the Oasis class got me into it, but Freedom is what started it for me. So I've always loved the Freedom.
Yeah, I love the Freedom class ships.
They're fantastic.
Travel with Hayden says, I thought Wonder was heading to Galveston and Harmony would be coming back to Miami.
Yeah, it's weird that Allure's going to go back, which is kind of the funny thing. I know originally they planned on the upgraded Allure to go over there, and then, you know, of course that didn't happen, but they still got the Allure. So it's definitely interesting. That's my biggest question out of this is where's Harmony going to go after this? Is like she's gonna do the summer over in Europe for summer of 26, but like late 26. So we're probably not gonna learn about this until probably like this time next year. But like, where's she gonna go?
Right.
And this is something you touched base on, I believe, 2 or 3 podcasts ago. Bird ZZ says we need a Freedom Class 4 ship.
There was
I think I said that.
Yeah, that would be amazing. And there was originally a plan for it. I only learned about this just recently, but there was originally a plan for it, and there was like, as they were signing the order, or not even signing it, but going through the ordering process of it, they ended up backing out and said, hey, why don't we order Project Sunshine, which was the Quantum class. So it was really cool. I would love the Freedom class. They're really some of the best ships. Like from a ship spotting standpoint, like they've got so many good views, so many good access points, like for, you know, you can walk outside on the promenade, which is something you don't get on the Oasis class, which I loved on the Icon. Loved that. You know, you can pretty much go all the way around the pool deck with a view of the ocean. I mean, yeah. And then you got the Viking Crown Lounge that overlooks the pool deck and the ocean. Like they're such good ships.
I love the view from the Viking Crown Lounge. Me being, you know, past Diamond, the Diamond Club is up there. Crown Lounge.
Yeah, I'm so excited for Liberty here in a few weeks.
Oh, me too.
Liberty's my only reason other than the price and the fact that we're going to see Odyssey and Coco Cay, my biggest thing for wanting to go back on the Liberty was because it's the only Freedom class I haven't done more than once.
I've been on all three. I've been on all 3 Freedom class ships.
Yep, I've done Freedom twice. I did Liberty once and ND 3 times. So I'll just have to do Liberty a second time here in a few weeks, and I'll have done them all at least twice.
Moving on, Travel with Hayden says he has not tried an Oasis class yet. All right, Hayden,
you're really missing out. You're missing
5 of them. Book it.
You gotta book it. It's, you know, especially with the 3 and 4 night cruises now, it's even easier to do it. But an Oasis class. I will say this about the Icon class: the Icon is a must-do ship. But for pricing standpoint, I would say probably go with an Oasis class first. But the Oasis class are just incredible ships. And the fact that they were able to accomplish what they accomplished with these ships 15 years ago in 2009, like there's ships nowadays that still don't have some of the tech that Oasis has from 2009. Like it was an engineering marvel when they first came out. It was incredible. The fact they could do it is just insane.
Bird ZZ says, do you think Spectrum will come to Florida? No.
Nah. As much as I would love to say yes, I want the Spectrum to come over here, but it's made for Asia, and I don't think they're ever going to pull it out. Not anytime soon.
Yeah. If anything, we'll see Odyssey come back after it finishes up in New Jersey,
Yeah.
which they usually stay at a port for about 3-4 years and they move it around.
Yeah.
I think Odyssey will come back to Florida.
I hate that
That's
they're
a
putting
guess.
it up in New York. And it's not me being like selfish, like I want the Odyssey here in Florida so I can go on it. It's more of like what is Royal Caribbean thinking? That's the only quantum class that doesn't have an enclosed pool, but they're putting it up in New York of all places in the winter when it's the coldest. Like what are they thinking?
There were pictures of a ship, believe about a
Anthem.
week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Yeah,
Yeah,
like the
Anthem.
whole pool deck was covered with snow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Could you
saw that.
imagine that nice, beautiful tropical pool deck with no enclosed pool covered in snow? This
Travel with
doesn't
Travel
work.
with Hayden asked, "Do you think Icon 3 will go to Galveston?" Nobody knows. We don't even know where. Actually, Icon 2 is coming here. Star Icon 3. I mean,
I
it could
don't think
probably
so.
fit there,
Probably
but
not.
the problem with Galveston is every ship does Western Caribbean.
Yes.
So to put an Icon ship there, I seriously doubt it. It'll probably end up in Florida, or possibly even New York if it fits underneath the bridge.
That
I
would be insane.
I don't think
But I don't think so either.
it's definitely not impossible for an icon class to go to Galveston. Like you said, it's stuck the to the Western Caribbean. I mean, they've done it with the Oasis class. My only thing is that, especially Icon 3, they've never put a brand new Royal Caribbean ship in Galveston. They've never done it. I know Carnival does it, and Carnival's done it a couple times. They've done it with Magic. They did it with Jubilee. You know, they put Vista there when she was still relatively new. It's just Royal Caribbean hasn't done that. Carnival has a really big stronghold on Galveston. Yeah, Icon 3 would probably give them, like, just completely wipe them out, you know, with the competition if they put an Icon class there. But I don't think they're going to be getting a new one there. You'll probably get Icon maybe about a year or two after Icon 3, or maybe if we get an Icon 4. But
Yeah, I think
Galveston
she'll
could really.
stay-
I think it'll be. I think it'd be great for Galveston. It's just I don't think you're getting a new one.
Right. If anything, she'll go to probably Fort Lauderdale,
Yeah.
and if not Fort Lauderdale, then they might double her up in either Miami or Canaveral, but probably Miami. But
Oh, could
yeah,
you
I think she'll be a
imagine
Florida ship.
doubled up Icon class like they used to do with the Oasis class in Miami? It'd be
Right.
incredible.
I was gonna say because they've done it already, so not with Icon obviously, but at least with the Oasis class. So I think while Miami's got its issues right now, I think they could do it.
Yeah, they gotta kind of work on the traffic flow patterns and all of that. Dimitri, you
Yeah,
should
it's
work for the
bad.
Port of Miami, by the way, if you're still in the chat. Dimitri, you need to work with
Bring it
them
to the
and
floor.
well that and you need to work with the Port of Miami to actually fix those roads, man, because they are
They're
tough.
bad.
For
Yeah.
so they must have changed up the traffic flow pattern in the Port of Miami. Those two lanes coming out of the tunnel, they used to go all the way down, did they not?
What do you mean? All
Like-
the way down to where?
Like all the way down to A.
I mean, they still do. It pops. It pops.
They
you out
do, but
by Terminal D. They
right,
always did that.
right. They always did that, but now there's a thing for trucks, and so me being in the mindset like, oh, like I'm so used to just going straight down the side of it on that right hand side. We almost ended up in the cargo, like near the trucks. We're like,
Yeah.
oh crap.
When they built that little flyover,
Yeah.
For like that goes by B.
Yeah.
They, because of all the construction over there, they like redid the truck route.
Yeah.
So they had to shift. I think they shifted the lanes over one. That's why if you come out on the right, you'll go through the trucks because the left lane opens up into another one, and then it
Yeah.
goes back to where it normally goes. A little bit different, but
Me being me, my confident self riding shotgun in the car, I was like, all right, yeah, Dad, you're good. Just take this right-hand lane. You're going to take it all the way down. I had no idea. They didn't build the flyover there. That wasn't finished when we went on
Right.
Freedom. That was the last time I had been that way in Miami. So I was like,
Right.
oh, yeah, just stick in the right-hand lane. You're good. And all of a sudden I see, oh, the arrow pointing for Terminal A. I was like, oh, crap.
So
Yeah.
the Miami port was designed like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
The biggest ship was like 70,000 tons.
Yeah.
And it was never designed to handle the amount of traffic and these big 200,000 plus ton ships.
They're about to have
It's
double.
crazy.
They're about to double
what
those
Miami's-
up. World America, I'm pretty sure is going to be a Saturday ship with Icon.
Last question
That's
for
gonna
now.
be crazy.
Last question for now. Bird ZZ says he went on Harmony last April and the crowd control was awful. Did you notice this issue? He's asking Justin the question. But real quick before Justin answers, my first question to Birds is, did you go when the kids were in school or out of school? Because when the kids are out of school, the ships are much busier.
Mhm.
So Justin, feel free to take over the question.
Yeah, so I went in September, like mid-September ish, early September. So I think a lot of kids were back in school, especially in Florida.
Mhm.
So I think that may have helped, but I don't recall, besides like the Windjammer the first day, which obviously
It's always going to be like that.
we didn't have an issue anywhere getting seats, walking through the promenade, getting back on the ship like in the ports. So no, not really. But again, I went in September, so at least most of the Florida schools had already gone back into school.
Yeah, for
But-
sure.
And Birds answered the question saying he went during spring break. I don't know if it was college spring break or public school spring break,
Yeah.
but especially during public school spring break, you have a lot of 3, 4, sometimes 5 people to a cabin.
Yeah,
Right.
So yes, it is much busier then.
for sure. Yeah.
That's the last question for now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Oasis class does a really good job with crowd control. I mean, yeah, given that at certain times of the year you're going to get more people just because they're double, triple occupied cabins, or even quadruple sometimes. And I think there's even maybe a 5-person cabin that might exist. I don't know. You're going to get more people during non-school times, but the Oasis class overall does a pretty good job, especially for 6,000 people. Like they do a great job of crowd control. Overall, I mean,
Yeah.
there's so much going on those ships, whether it's, now you have El Loco Fresh, you have Spore, Playmakers, Johnny Rockets, the Windjammer. Like, you get a lot of options even with the original ones. Like, even Allure has a lot of options still. But that was one of the biggest things with how well they did that on Oasis. That made me even more impressed with Icon because they took that and made it even better.
And even spreading venues out, like you've got
Right.
the water. I can't remember the name of it. The water thing in the back of the ship.
Aqua Theater.
The Aqua Theater. Thank you.
Yeah.
You've got the Aqua Theater back. You got the main theater up front. You got the comedy club down on deck 4. The casinos down on deck 4 in the middle.
Right.
So things are really spread out.
Mm-hmm.
And even up top, we got the sports
Right.
court in the back and the solarium in the front.
Right.
And the mini golf in the back and the flow riders in the back. So they really do a pretty good job of spreading people out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think with a ship like that, that's definitely key, and I think the split structure design is definitely a big part of that with that crowd control because you're keeping people in certain areas and keeping them in, different parts of the ship for certain things like that. Whereas the Mardi Gras and like the XL class ships, those are smaller, yes, but they have similar guest capacities, and you could definitely tell because they're not as spread out like you would get on Oasis class.
Yeah. And Birdsey Z just made another comment here. And Justin and myself already know the answer to this. Do you think Tampa will ever remove the bridge? And I'm going to make a comment in here, or make it taller to make it for bigger ships. And the answer is no. This was actually discussed by the city of Tampa and some other people. I want to say about 4 or 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I live in Tampa, in case you didn't know. And they pretty much said it was going to cost like $4 billion to like make the bridge like 50 feet taller. So,
Yikes.
and that bridge is old, and it's probably due for replacement soon because it was built in the 80s, late 80s.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised they didn't move forward with it. But the short answer is no, there are no plans to do it.
Yeah.
And I also think, now I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure the channel leading up like from Davis Island to the actual port would be too small for a lot of these bigger ships anyways. And I don't think the piers or the terminals can accommodate them as well. So maybe like I don't even know if you can get like a Voyager class in there. Maybe like a Conquest class or
Yeah.
maybe like one of the celebrity ships, but it's very tight, and a lot of these bigger ships will have some problems making some of these turns to get up to the port.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no way an Oasis or Icon class would even fit, even if it
Yeah.
wasn't a bridge.
Yeah. I know at one point, and I had talked to Dimitri about this a little bit at one point, but I know there was originally some sort of like talks of maybe putting something. I think Bradenton is the area over there, like right outside the bridge. But I know they had looked into putting a cruise port, at least like one terminal out that way. But I think given the environmental impact was a little bit too much, so they scrapped the idea. But I mean, that's what they would have to do if Tampa wants an Oasis class, or they want an Icon class, or even if they just want a Voyager class ship, they'd have to put something over in that Bradenton area, and it's just not going to happen.
They were also talking about St. Pete area.
Yeah.
Some of the American cruise line boats go there, but they only hold like 200 people.
Yeah.
They were also talking about building something over there, and that ended up getting shot down. One, like you said, the environmental impact, and two, it's just really expensive to build a port there.
Mm-hmm.
And three, it's like 45 minutes from the airport.
Yeah.
Right.
So that kind of got struck down.
Yeah, I think the relativeness to the airport is definitely key there. I mean, if it had been a little bit closer, it might have had a little bit more pull. But yeah, if you've got that's one of the biggest things. That's what's keeping Canaveral, other than just the overall logistics and design of it. But like, that's one of the biggest downfalls for Canaveral is the fact that you've got MCO that's about 45 minutes, or you got Melbourne Airport, which is like 2 terminals large. You know, like the biggest thing you could probably get into Melbourne Airport is like a 737, and you know they're little tiny things, but that's still about 30-45 minutes away from the port. You just can't fly into them as easily, and that's why Miami and Fort Lauderdale are so big. You know, they have 6, 7, 8 ships and 8 terminals, 9 terminals, things like that, and they're still building more. Like Miami's getting the new MSC terminal, but. Yeah, I mean those are 20 minutes at most with traffic. There's 20 minutes from the ports.
Yeah,
and Fort Lauderdale's is 2 minutes.
Exactly. You're literally at Terminal 29 in Fort Lauderdale is in the takeoff pattern.
Right.
And Tampa's only like 5 miles. It's only like 10 or 15-minute ride to the airport.
Right.
So
Right.
It's very convenient for those like the smaller ships.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know a lot of us are talking about it in previous conversations about the Discovery class hopefully coming to Tampa, which we're kind of hoping it fits.
Yeah, those will be interesting to see what they come back to be.
So let's get back to the Oasis topic.
Yeah. Yes, I was just about to say that.
Go ahead, Brandon.
So I guess I'll start with Oasis 7. Like, what changes do you think are going to happen with that? Do you think it's going to be a copy of Wonder Utopia, or is it going to be a whole new thing? You know, kind of going back to my thing earlier with them just coming in pairs.
My personal opinion, I think they're going to go with a lot of things that are on Utopia.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, with every Oasis class ship, they've made some minor changes as far as like, you know, the dining and the bars and things like that. I think they're going to take some of the things that are successful on Utopia and successful on Icon and possibly replace, you know, certain venues that are currently on Utopia or Wonder.
Now, this is going to be way out into left field, but what if they redesigned, I say redesigned, not too much, but like the sports deck area to make it fairly similar to how Icon is, and add some kind of bigger water park back there, and kind of move the water park from up front and put it in the back.
I mean, that's definitely
build like 2 like that.
It's possible. I mean, it's not like Oasis 7 is going to have it's not going to be like structurally different than an Oasis class already. Like, it's not going to be like they're adding, you know, it's not going to look like we're going to get the Aquadome up front and things like that. It's just going to be,
right,
for the most part, just like rearranging things or like putting different things in different places. But I mean, if they can figure out a way to elevate that basketball court, put, you know, like a restaurant, like that base camp restaurant underneath there, and then move the basketball court up there, so you have that whole left side or that whole right side, I mean, you could put maybe a water park over there. I don't know how much wider they are truly compared to the Oasis class on Icon.
But like you could, design it to where it would fit in that spot and
Oh,
make it
yeah.
like unique, and then
You could definitely make it
that
fit.
could be your big difference, right? And then you
Right.
could build, if you want to build a second one, then they could be that group.
Right, absolutely.
Now, Utopia has something new called the pesky parrot. I've seen one picture of it, and I believe I could be wrong.
Oh, is that the new
I
bar?
believe, yeah, that's the new bar. I believe this is where the Bionic bar is on
Yes.
the other ships in the Champagne bar.
Yes.
Okay, the Bionic bar is not on Utopia, thank goodness, because that's one of
Yeah.
those things where people go there the first 1 or 2 days, and be like, oh, that's cool, and then by the
Mhm.
end of the cruise, nobody's there.
I was so excited for it when I went on Symphony. I got my whiskey sour from the little robot, gave him a $2 tip, and I said, "See you later." I'm just kidding, but I said, "See you later."
I was about to say, oh my.
It's
The
funny though.
only
They
other-
the little tablet asks like, "Oh, do you want to add a tip?" I'm like, "What is he gonna take this dollar down to the crew bar? What is he gonna
Yeah.
do? He can't leave this little spot."
The only other thing that is new on Utopia is the spare tire, which is the food truck.
I'm so excited for that. Oh, and there's
that's well needed, and I really hope on 7 that they do something similar to what Carnival did with the XL class and put like miniature little food court
Mhm.
things. I
Yeah.
really like that idea that Carnival did on the Mardi Gras.
yeah, it was
that
really.
class.
They had like a little cheesesteak stand. They had like little tiny, yeah, they just had little tiny like foods there, stuff like that. I mean, food trucks are very popular these days. It's kind of like a trendy thing. I love that they're gonna put that. Another thing that's carrying over from Icon is Izumi in the park. That little to-go window for Izumi, and Izumi is also going to be in Central Park as well, which I really liked.
I'm
I'm excited for
99% sure that's going to be on
Oasis 7. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, the karage chicken on Izumi at the park, 10 out of 10. Must try it. It's very good. It's basically Japanese fried chicken. It's not fried chicken, but basically they take, instead of like flour, it's potato starch. So the breading on the chicken tastes like a French fry, but you're eating chicken.
Right.
It's so good.
Travel with Hayden has a question about 7. He says, do we think it'll take over the 3 and 4 night cruises in Florida?
It's a good question.
Maybe from Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, that'd be cool. If you could run one out of all 3 of those major ports year round, oh, that would be so cool.
Yeah.
It's hard to say because it really depends where Royal is in a financial situation.
Yeah.
These Oasis class ships are pushing $2 billion to build.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to want to get some of their money back. It also depends where the economy is at that point.
Mhm.
I mean, the economy's been pretty strong
Yeah.
for the last few years. You know, if the economy turns, either continues on the path that it's been on, or if the economy starts to go downhill a little bit, then that could change the way they think about how to deploy that.
Yeah. Not to get into like like the political things, but the inflation side of it is a huge thing. I mean, Icon's price tag was originally 1.5 to my knowledge, 1.5 billion. Icon came out of the shipyard with a $2 billion price tag. I mean, that's $500 million that they ended up spending extra on that compared to what they originally thought it was going to cost. And I think that's going to be the same thing with Star. Like these, and compared to the Oasis class, again, they're not much bigger. They get a lot more tech and a lot more new stuff on here. But the Oasis class have been, 1 billion for Oasis and Allure, 1.2 for the second gen, and then Harmony and Wonder and Utopia were about 1.4, 1.5. So I mean they definitely have hefty price tags, and they're just getting more and more expensive, even with adding new stuff and without adding new stuff.
Yeah. I would like to see some more slides like they did on Icon.
Yeah, I would love to see. Yeah, if they can, even if it's in the same spot. I know, like Justin mentioned, like in that part on the starboard side. I mean, that would be really cool to put something there. Or if they just like not amplified, but like changed it up and did something like really crazy up front where it's already at. Like both of those ideas would be really cool for the water park on there, and they could do a lot with it.
Like I just got off Symphony a month ago, and that had 3 slides.
Yeah,
not including the drive slide in the back.
which is also really cool. I wish they would have done that with Icon,
You
actually.
know, I've never done that.
Really?
I've
Really,
never
I've
done that. I've gone down the water slides, but I've never done the drive slide. The
it's fun.
abyss, the ultimate abyss.
yeah, it's really
And the
cool.
approaches is going to be a little bit different.
Birds wants to know if Royal will ever build a second terminal in Miami. The answer is no.
So they kind of do. They have what is it, G down at the end?
Yeah.
They have G. They're actually so over the next. I don't know when it officially starts, but over the next year, I think sometime this year or next year, the ship. So right now, I think it's Independence that's using G. They're gonna start operating out of Terminal AA, which is the MSC terminal.
Mhm.
What G is gonna get completely redone, and I think it's still like a solely Royal Caribbean and Celebrity terminal. So technically, yes, they still have that second terminal there on top of A. You're not going to get a second terminal similar to A, but you're going to get a revamped Terminal G here soon.
Nice. I didn't realize they had that.
Yeah, part of the agreement with AA and AAA is had contingencies on that new the upgraded Terminal G, and Royal had to or MSC had to let Royal use that when they need it.
Sport Crazy talked about this earlier. Would it be cheaper to build a cruise terminal so ships don't have to go under the bridge in Tampa? We spoke about this earlier about briefly.
They tried.
They tried it, and it was just too expensive.
Too expensive. Too much of an environmental impact. I think there's a big manatee community in that area, in that local like shore part, and I think a lot of their food source, like that seagrass, I think it would have ripped up way too much of that, and I think that's what killed it is the manatees. That was like their feeding spot.
Birds wants to know if we would ever ship spot in Key West.
Bro.
Me personally, no, because I lived on the West Coast, so I actually have to drive to the East Coast and then back to the West Coast, and it's like 8 hours to get there. And there are very few ships that go in and out of Key West. I don't know if that's something Justin or Brandon might be interested in doing, but not me.
I mean, is it practical?
yeah,
Is it practical? No, but is Justin and me and Justin crazy enough to do it? Absolutely.
Yes. I want to ship something in Galveston.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to flying up to New York or Galveston to go ship spotting anytime. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it. It sounds like a good time.
Yeah. I actually did Liberty out of New York, out of New Jersey.
My parents are on that on the 9 night this year in September.
I stayed in Jersey City and just was walking out of the hotel, and randomly there's a ship going by. And I just pulled out my phone real quick and grabbed a short of it. Now I can't remember the name. It was one of the smaller cruise lines, only holds like 1,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
One of the luxury cruise lines, and I can't remember the name of it, but I thought it was pretty cool seeing that.
Yeah, George says in the chat here, there's a lot of ships that go in and out of Key West, and especially during the winter time. Yeah, a lot of celebrity ships. I've seen the Beyond there lately, and I know a lot of the Galveston ships usually like to come over. It's not often, but some of the, especially Carnival Galveston ships, will do 7 nights out to Key West and Nassau, which is really cool. So occasionally you get a Carnival ship like the Dream that shows up there, or you'll get like a celebrity ship or a small Royal Caribbean ship.
Yeah, and Norwegian likes to send their short cruises there. At least with the Pearl. Pearl's been stopping there, or the Pearl or the Gem. One of those two has been stopping there pretty recently. So.
Yeah.
Birds wants to know, what's your favorite port besides Coco Cay?
St. Thomas.
That's a tough question.
Which part of St. Thomas?
Haven site.
That's the one that Carnival docks at, right?
It's like the main one.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Crown Bay is where Royal goes.
Crown Bay is nice and all. There's not much there. I mean, it's nice to get really up close to the ships, but Haven site, you get that chair lift or that cable car lift, and you got all that shopping there. That's the better part. Yeah, St. Thomas is really nice. I think for me, I've always really loved Cozumel. Like, it's the basic cruise destination when you're going Western, but like I love Cozumel, and if I'm going Western, I would prefer to go on Carnival because of Mahogany Bay is so nice compared to like the actual downtown Roatan port. Nothing against it. It's It's a nice little place, but it's also a nice little emphasis on the little place. Like there's not much there when you're throwing in. Like I went on the Symphony and it stopped there. We had Symphony, I think it was Serenade and Valiant Lady. And it was like shoulder to shoulder going through there. Like even with the Oasis class alone, it's busy there. And it's a lot of people just for that little port within just one ship and one Oasis class, but the downtown Mahogany Bay or downtown Roatan can get really congested really easily. So if I ever go on Carnival, I always like to go Western because I love Mahogany Bay.
Let's talk about the refurbishments. I mean, we got two
Ooh, yes,
amplifications
Allure.
coming up. Allure and Harmony are both going through amplifications. What do you think, or what would you like to see? For me, I'd like to see Harmony get a swimming pool in the solarium. That's the only ship.
I think a lot of people want that.
Doesn't have a pool in the solarium.
I think a lot of people want that.
What other things do you think will happen besides Playmakers? We already know Playmakers is, taking the place of Sabor.
Yeah, Playmakers will go in. I think we're definitely gonna get the Water Slides, Ultimate Abyss. As much as I don't want to see it, probably gonna get the suites across the top like Oasis does. As much as I don't like them, but they seem to be doing that on Utopia, so I don't see why they wouldn't do it on Allure. But they definitely look a lot better on Utopia. I'm still not 100% on it, but it looks better. Speaking of Utopia, I saw on Instagram today, I think Jerry posted it. I don't know who posted it. But they were testing the Azipods on Utopia today.
Saw that.
Big fun fact. Good timing here with this podcast.
Now, Utopia is getting Giovanni's, I believe, is the Italian restaurant, which is where the Diamond Club is right now on Allure, which overlooks the boardwalk for those that don't know.
Yes.
That is a fabulous spot for that. Do you guys think that they're going to put the Italian restaurant on Harmony and Allure?
Absolutely. I think
probably
Harmony might have Jamie's. I know Symphony has Jamie's, but it's not Giovanni's. I know there's a difference there.
I don't remember now. I think it does.
It's in Central Park though, but I definitely think that they're gonna do it. I don't know about Harmony, but I know they'll definitely do it with Allure. I also think they're gonna put the food trucks that Utopia has on Allure.
That would be awesome. And, I would really like to see 2 food trucks.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Different types of food. Yeah, I think that would be awesome.
And
just kind of spread people around and keep the Windjammer from getting real busy at 12 noon on a sea day.
Exactly, for sure. And I'm going to piggyback a little bit off this chat here I see from Canon that says, do you think future Oasis class will ditch Johnny Rockets and switch over to Surfside style or like style venue? So this came into mind when we first started this podcast. So like this is like fresh in my mind and like a fresh idea here. But so I know some of the newer ships. I know the Quantum class, I think only Anthem has Johnny Rockets. I could be wrong there. But I know they ditched it with the Quantum class, and I know they're ditching it with the Icon class. The Aquadome Marketplace is a huge hit on Icon. It's so good. Like chicken and rice, Mediterranean foods, spring rolls, gyros, like Greek food, things like that. It is so popular on there. I wonder if Oasis 7... they'll take out Johnny Rockets, as much as I don't want them to. I wonder if they'll take out Johnny Rockets, make that a whole seating area, and on the make it a little indoor section, kind of like they've done with the Icon class a little bit with those restaurants, and make a mini version, or maybe just like some sort of version of, instead of the Aqua Dome Marketplace, it's the Aqua Theater Market, and do something.
That'd be cool.
That would be really cool. That literally just came into my mind. I thought about that as soon as I hit start on this podcast. I was like, oh, that'd be cool.
I totally agree. Now, Utopia is going to get a Johnny Rockets.
Yes.
So I don't know if it's a contractual thing.
Yeah.
That Royal has with Johnny Rockets or what.
Yeah. I don't know if it's certain classes need it or something like that. But yeah, there's got to be some sort of contract because some new ships have it and some new ships don't.
They have never removed a Johnny Rockets from a ship.
That too.
So it has to be a contractual thing.
It most likely. I know it started its big deal on the Voyager way back, but They've put them on all the Voyager, all the Freedom, all the, I think even does the Radiance class have them?
No.
No? Okay. Then, yeah, I mean, it's great food. I love Johnny Rockets. I don't like that I have to pay for it. I think that's why Johnny Rockets used to be really, really busy. And it still kind of is sometimes here and there. But, I mean, I'd go to Johnny Rockets every night if it was free. I mean, is it a lot of money? No. I mean, it's like $10 or it's like $10 maybe for all you can eat. And you get soda included in that, like $10 or $15 or whatever it is.
But, it's 15.
Yeah, I think actually you're right. I think it is 15. But, if I didn't have to spend the $15, I'd be there every night instead of, going once a cruise.
And I've always found it interesting that Johnny Rockets, a hamburger place, is right across the hall from Playmakers, a hamburger place.
Yeah. That too. Great idea.
So Brandon, I know we're starting to run low on time here. There are 11 new restaurants on Icon. Do you see any of those going to Oasis 7?
Going off of what I just said about the Aqua Theater Marketplace, I think that would be a really unique idea. Whether or not they get rid of Johnny Rockets on Oasis 7, I don't know, but I think that would be really cool to see. Izumi in the Park will definitely carry over. I know they've already carried it over on Utopia. There's definitely a couple of possibilities I'd like to see for sure, and it really depends on what they do as far as the redesign. Is it going to be a Utopia again, or is it going to be a whole new Oasis class ship? Kind of like the jump from Allure to Harmony, Symphony to Wonder. Like, are we going to get that, or is it going to be a Wonder to Utopia? But I think an Aqua Theater Marketplace would be really neat. Maybe if they were to elevate, like Justin mentioned earlier, with the water park going in the aft section of the ship, if they were to elevate the basketball court, which they clearly did on Icon, they could definitely do it with Oasis 7, and they could put that base camp restaurant, which is really good, by the way. It's what I liked about base camp too is it had a bar there, and it was also, the menu was split. You could pay for a couple things, or you get a couple things for free. Like, you get tater tots and pretzel bites for free. Or if you wanted, like, I think even a hot dog was in there, but like if you wanted like a chicken sandwich, like a nice, like a, not a burger that you would get out of the Windjammer, but like a nice burger, like I think you have to pay for that. But it was like $3-4. But I mean, they could do something like that. I think it would be really cool. And I see one of the chats here about the Bionic Bar. Seeing that they took it out of Oasis, seeing how they took it out of Utopia, I don't think it's going to come back for Oasis 7 either. It really seems like it's been one of those one and done type of things. It was really popular when it came out on Quantum. But like Steve mentioned earlier, I think as people do it the first night and everybody crowds there the first night, they all do it, and then nobody's there the rest of the week. That's really the only thing with the Bionic Bar.
Yeah, right. Utopia's got the pesky parrot, and my guess is...
I think that'll be more popular.
Yeah, my guess is the Bionic Bars are going to come out during the Allure and Harmony refurbishments.
I bet you that's probably going to be one of the big changes with Allure for sure, and probably Harmony as well. Is they're probably going to take out. As I don't know if it's going to be quite as extensive with Harmony because she's a little bit newer, and I think they're more focusing to kind of do what they did with Oasis to Allure. I don't know if they're doing that with Harmony or not. I haven't really heard too much about them going like way over the top with it or not, like they are with Allure. But I could definitely see them removing it and putting in the pesky parrot on Allure.
I see the Bionic Bar staying with the Quantum class ships for now, because
those are kind of the smart ships. Those have always been touted as like the smart ships, the futuristic ships. So I could see that staying.
Well, the way the space is designed, there really isn't much you can put in that space, but Royal has pulled some magic before.
Yeah. And it's not like, I mean, it's almost like the go-karts with NCL. Like it was made for that on this type of class of ship, but when you put it on the new one, it doesn't really work too well. What they did is they started putting them on the newer Oasis class ships. They took a pre-existing lounge, which I think was like just a champagne bar. It was just kind of like a casual lounge, really. And they put the Bionic Bar in there, whereas they can repurpose that. And they don't know how to repurpose that because it was something else already beforehand. So they could definitely do it a lot easier with the Oasis rather than the Quantum class, where it was already pre-existing and like, day one was already there. It's part of the structural part.
Birds has two questions. One, do you think they'll ever redo the rooms on Oasis? No. The rooms on Radiance class are still the original rooms, and those ships are over 20 years old.
Yeah, they might update the carpeting. They might update the carpeting like they did with and put them like near what it's like with Harmony and Symphony, where it has like that more grayish color, grayer tones, but probably not. I had a room on Independence that had that newer style, where it was updated cabinets, updated carpets, and like that you would find on Harmony and Symphony, which is kind of weird. And it was on an inside room on deck 2 of all things.
I could see them doing some repainting and touch-ups and stuff like that, but not actually replacing furniture.
Yeah.
Birdus has another question. Do we think Allure will get playmakers? Yes, it will.
Absolutely.
Sabor is coming out, and pre-pandemic, Royal actually said that playmakers was going to go on every ship. Now, probably not the Radiance and the Vision class, because those are older ships and are not going to be around much longer.
Yeah.
But everything newer than those two classes, yes, playmakers will be on it.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. And like you said, that they're already talking about the Vision class are going to be retired over the next couple of years. Probably not anytime soon. Probably like 2026 at the earliest. We might get Vision or Grandeur that go out, but those are not going out anytime soon. But they've already announced that their next project is focused on replacing those. So those are coming. So I doubt they're going to do anything over the top with the Vision class. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what they do. I think there's a lot of potential with Oasis 7, especially when they take everything that's great about Icon and take everything that's great about the Oasis class over the last 15 years. And again, the Icon is just a 2020s modern day, extremely futuristic version of the Oasis class. So I think if they took a Oasis class from scratch and they just really use that superstructure and that structural part of the ship and they do everything like they did with Icon, it's got a lot of potential for Oasis 7.
So Brandon, let me ask you this. Icon has 10 new bars. Do you see any of those going on Oasis 7?
So I know the trellis bar is already on there. I think maybe if they were to do that base camp idea, the base camp bar would go in there. I really liked they had the Ryan Bean bar, which was like basically an alcoholic coffee bar in the Aquadome. So I feel like if they were to do something where they kind of tied that into the backside or like some sort of part of the Aqua Theater, kind of like they did with that, or even if they put that, actually that would really go well in the solarium, is that like not that coffee bar, but also like a kind of a spiked coffee bar. I think that would do really well in the solarium. I don't know what else could go in there. I think the dueling piano. Actually, I see the chat here. The dueling pianos would be a really good idea too. That was really, really cool. That was fun.
I would like to see that inside the schooner bar.
Oh, that would be if they take the schooner bar on Allure and they still call it the schooner bar, but they do that dueling pianos concept, that would really, because honestly, like, as much as I love the schooner bar, I mean, it's a staple across the fleet. Every single ship has it, which is not common to have one bar or one anything on every single ship throughout the fleet. But I think if they were to do that concept with the dueling pianos inside the schooner bar, I think a lot more people would be drawn to it. Because usually it's just held, there's not really many people that ever go to the schooner bar. It's usually just kind of held for like trivia and random things like that. And of course, people go there, but it's never like the hopping bar, that everybody flocks to at the end of the night, But I think that would be really cool.
If they did that, they'd have to move the what's that desk called? My memory just
the loyalty desk.
The loyalty desk. They would have to move that somewhere else.
They can put that outside the next cruise desk, because that's literally what they did with Icon. Is the loyalty desk is built into the side of the next cruise desk, which honestly makes sense. So there's a lot of different things they could do, and there's a lot of things they can do with Allure. I really hope they do the food truck idea with Allure. And just, yeah, there's a lot of things that they could do. I definitely hope they do the same thing with the Italian place. And, even that train car restaurant experience. I think that would be really cool as well.
That's on Icon, correct?
That's on Utopia. That's actually one
That's
thing
on
that's
Utopia,
on,
okay.
yeah, it's on Utopia, but it's not on Icon. It's like that little train car experience.
Interesting.
It'll be really cool to see. I think, I don't know if we don't have it booked, but I really want to do that when we go on Utopia in August. I also just want to do Utopia more than once, so just because I can't
True.
do that ship for just 3 nights and call it a day.
I think the train car thing is one of those things that Royal's going to test out to see how it does. It'll be popular at first until the reviews come out.
I bet you it'll be on
Um,
Star if it's even remotely popular on Utopia. I bet you it'll be on Star.
have we seen a menu for that yet? Do we know what kind of food is there?
I don't know, actually. I haven't seen any menus. Let me look it up.
While he's looking it up, Cannon wants to know, could Balearis be repurposed for dueling pianos? It's possible, but Balearis is such a popular bar, and it's on every Oasis class ship now. I don't see them changing that.
Yeah, I
Um,
I don't see them
and
changing it too much.
Birds wants to know, do you think Allure will get the meat restaurant like Oasis to replace Fuel? The meat restaurant. I'm not sure.
I think. Hold on, I'm about to sneeze. I got allergies. I think it's the barbecue place up by the mini golf on the port side. It's like a a la carte barbecue restaurant.
Oh yeah, it's the something pig or some pig something on Oasis.
The Pig and Anchor or something like that.
No, that's Carnival. But yeah, I know what you
Oh
mean.
yeah, yeah. Oh,
um,
port side barbecue.
Porkside barbecue. Yes, that's it. That's it. Honestly, I
That's on Wonder.
love a
Yeah.
good barbecue restaurant, so I would be down for that if they put that on Allure. I hope that comes over to Allure. So they didn't do that with Wonder, but in that same general somewhat area, because I know the way they did those two, Wonder and Utopia, are a little bit different than the others. But they had the Mason Jar, I think is the name of the restaurant in that area, and that seems to be doing pretty popular as well. But I think that barbecue place would do really good there.
Loco Fresh is on Odyssey, Symphony, and a couple other ships. That does
Oasis
very
has it
well.
on the other side.
I love El Loco Fresh. They technically have it on Allure. It's just that little closet.
Yeah,
So for those who
and
are
Harmony.
yeah, for those who are like kind of familiar with like the original versions of the Oasis class, that used to be called the Wipeout Bar, or was it Wipeout Cafe? Yes, the Wipeout Bar is actually by the Flow Riders. They had the Wipeout Cafe that used to be just like a random like very small like room with buffet food. Like you can go in and get breakfast there, you can go in and get lunch, like little tiny things like hot dogs, hamburgers. But on Allure and I think Harmony as well, they've turned that and they've repainted the area and kind of closed it off and put graphics on it basically. So they turned that into a Loco Fresh.
Yeah.
It's just not the
Or-
big extravagant, way it is on the new ships like Wonder.
Birds asked if any of us are going to go on Allure after she gets refurbished. Personally, I usually don't book cruises more than 6 months in advance. I live in Florida, so it's easy for me to just drive there. I don't know about you guys.
I would
Definitely. I don't have anything booked, but it's, of course.
I mean, all I really have to do is give Justin a call and say, "Hey, there's a really good deal on this cruise," and usually it ends up getting booked.
Yeah. Whoops. Don't call me.
There's some pretty good deals on Wonders 3 nights, and they honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it's gonna get booked by the end of the night.
Agreed.
But yeah, that Justin and I are very impulsive on how we do it, and we'll literally just go to see a ship. So, like, we did the Allure just because it was going on the 3 nights. So I wouldn't be surprised if we
why
go
are
on
doing Liberty of the Seas in 2 weeks?
because it was cheap, and we're gonna go see the Odyssey and Coco Cay.
Yes.
Exactly. So that's literally what goes through our heads when we book these cruises. So it's definitely a possibility. I wouldn't rule it out.
I love Odyssey. I've been on it 4 times.
I haven't been on any of the Quantum class. I want to do those so bad. They just won't put them in Florida.
I know.
I hate it.
Canaveral would be a good port for
The
one.
Seaplex is the best Seaplex out of all the Quantum class ships.
Really.
Yes.
I want to do. Like Justin said, I think a Quantum class would do really, really good in Port Canaveral, especially Miami. I think that would be a good Miami. I'm surprised they didn't do that with Odyssey, but that's
Right.
here and there. But yeah, I think a Quantum class would do really good here in Florida, not just seasonally. I think it needs to be here year round. I'll
Yeah, that's
go
the
on it
only
if it's
class-
year round.
That's the only class ship that will be missing once Odyssey leaves.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. They're all over on the West Coast, which is the weirdest thing because that's not really their big market.
Right.
I know like Florida is their bread and butter, and like the Caribbean is their bread and butter. Like even the Galveston is like that's a bigger market than LA, or I mean Alaska has their summer seasons over there, but like they don't bring the ships back over here. They send them over to Asia and Australia, like things like that.
Right.
Like at least give us one. Like that's literally all I ask is just give us one.
I really thought Odyssey would move to Port Canaveral.
I wish it did.
I know that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Odyssey would do great here, especially if I know they don't have that itinerary yet here in Canaveral, but I wish they would do a 5 and 9 like they do in Miami with Royal Caribbean, where I think Freedom is now going to be going on that soon. Explorer's on it now. But I would love to see that itinerary come out of Port Canaveral from Royal. And I think Odyssey would be a perfect 5 and 9 out of Port Canaveral. A perfect.
I agree. That would be awesome.
They could do Nassau, Coco Cay, and or maybe even do a Labadee and Coco Cay run. I mean, you could do that in 5 days. And of course, the 9 nights, you can take it all the way down to, St. Thomas, St. Kitts, St. Martin, all that.
Right.
I believe Adventure does both the private islands now.
Yes, it does 6 and 8s, and I think one or both of those 6 and 8 itineraries do, I think, Labadee and Coco Cay, which is awesome.
I did the jet ski tour in Labadee when I was there a month ago. It's pretty cool.
I love jet skis. I want to do that again. I did that on Independence in Coco Cay. It was really fun. I just got a dog of a jet ski where it literally was topping out at 22, whereas it was supposed to be governed at 30. So I was in the back. I was like the one that was trying to go the fastest, but I had it floored and it wouldn't go. Yeah, I love jet skis. I would love to do that again.
Yeah, they're fun. I used to own one, but I got rid of it because I just didn't have time to ride it.
I grew up on a lake in Atlanta, and my grandfather had 2 of them, and him and I literally would spend the entire summers when I was out of school. We would ride jet skis around the lake. So I've always loved doing jet skis. They're a lot of fun.
Cannon asked, any word when the new Royal Beach Club is opening in Nassau? As of now, they have not started construction. So the short answer is nobody knows. And I don't know how long construction is going to take, but so far they've done absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I've heard they're aiming for 2025, but yeah, I don't think they haven't even started construction. And George, to answer your question, I grew up on Lake Lanier in Georgia, which I know it's kind of close to Altoona, I guess. It's kind of different, maybe about an hour or 2 away from there. But yeah, I grew up on Lake Lanier, which is it's fun fact. Lake Lanier in Atlanta or in Georgia is a haunted lake, or it's people die on that lake all the time. It's sketchy. I hate it.
I'm never hanging out with you again.
And don't come up to Lake Lanier in Georgia. I don't recommend it.
I'm not.
I do
I'm
not
taking
recommend
no
it.
bad energy with me.
First asked, do you think Royal will ever build a second private island? Well, that's what's going in Nassau. It's not a private island.
Yeah,
but
that's basically what they're doing.
It's a section of Nassau that's going to be for them.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're familiar with what's been going on in the news at Coco Cay, but they did just open an adults only area, which is pretty big as well.
Justin, we should go there on Liberty.
They have another one. They have another one they were talking about, and I can't recall the name of it. That's over, like outside New Zealand or something.
Oh, another perfect day. Yeah.
Oh, Perfect Day Lalape or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They've not started construction on that one yet either.
they announced
No.
that so long ago too. They haven't
Yeah.
started construction on it. I don't think that's. I mean, I know it's just the 2 Quantum class ships that are normally down in Australia that would be the only ones that could go there. And it's like
Private island.
you'd have
Private
to do a
island.
7-day cruise, and that would be like maybe 1 or 2 stops, including that, to get out there. It's not in a good location, so I don't know if that's actually going to be something that goes through.
The cruise lines make so much money on the private islands.
Mm-hmm. They really do.
That's what it's a cash cow for them.
Yeah. I know at one point, and I think the project is coming back to life, but I think Royal is doing something in Freeport as well. They're supposed to do something with like a big resort over there.
No, they backed out of that over the pandemic.
I know they backed out of it during the pandemic, but I heard
think they
they're
announced
looking into
something
it
about it
again.
recently.
They had
Yeah.
announced something about it maybe coming back, or like they're actually going to go through with it now.
Probably because Carnival was doing something over there.
Yeah.
Right.
They got to take Carnival's feet from under them is really all they're trying to do here. Which I, as much as I love Carnival, it's so funny to me that literally anytime Carnival has any sort of momentum going their way, Royal Caribbean's like, nah, and just sweeps out from under them. A prime example is Carnival came out, oh, we're gonna build a 4th XL class, big news, surprise. The next day, hey, we got Oasis 7 coming, baby, let's go. Same time frame. Like
It was pretty much we're just going to sweep you guys underneath the rug. Let's go.
Literally. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Carnival is with their new island, if it has any sort of relative popularity, they're going to upgrade Coco Cay, and they're also going to go all in on that Royal Beach Club in Nassau.
Yeah.
And Birds asked, will we ever do the margarita at sea? I know the 3 of us are going to be filming it on its first day out of Tampa.
Yes.
Since we all live close by.
I'll go see it, but I don't know if I'll sail on it. I'm still not sold on the reviews on the Paradise. It just is not appealing to me. But I also know that the Atlantica, the Atlantica is a much bigger, or just like those two go together perfectly. So a Key West Cozumel cruise from Tampa on a Margaritaville ship, it just screams perfect. So yes, they have the right idea what they're going with here. It's the fact if they actually execute properly.
Yeah, we'll see.
Cannon wants to know, do you ever see Royal adding another dock at Coco Cay? The answer is no. The island can hold about 15,000 people. If you were to put 2 Oasis class ships, the island would be full.
Yeah.
Well, they're already doing that once Utopia comes out.
Yeah, I mean, even to like Odyssey against an Oasis class.
Yeah.
Very busy.
I mean, that's over 10,000 people right there. And it doesn't feel crowded with that many people because they're all spread out.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, apparently my Uber Eats is here, so time to end the podcast. I scheduled it for 8. They're here early. All right. Thanks, everybody. We're going to wrap it up right there. Sorry about the hard cutoff there, but yeah. Anyways, I hope everybody enjoyed tonight's podcast. We'll see you guys next week, and have a good night.
Good night.
Sounds good.
All right.